Welcome everyone, my name is Michael Graham. Welcome everyone, my name is Michael Graham. I'm the managing editor of New Hampshire Journal. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out to tonight's debate. I would like to thank Manchester Public Television for streaming it and broadcasting it and making it available not just on Manchester TV, but also be available on the local public stations in the 2nd Congressional District. And if any of your friends or family missed it, it'll also be up at New Hampshire Journal's Facebook page where it is streaming live as well. So we really appreciate that. I want to thank legendary broadcaster Tiffany Eddy for joining us here as a panelist, as well as Damian Fisher, who works for me, so you know about him. Okay, so, no, I'm kidding. Damian Fisher, award-winning journalist who writes for New Hampshire Journal and who I mock ceaselessly. I also have to thank Chris Ager. He made the pizza available, so the guy who brings the food wins. And the way that the order of the questions will work, we had a fair, unbiased drawing after Lily gave me some money. And so, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know, Joe cooked at the last debate, too. That was great. No, so we had a random drawing, and so it'll work with the questions will always be in the same order, left to right. They'll just start with different people. Everyone will get a minute to answer every question. If one of the candidates mentions another candidate in a way that is disparaging or raises issues, they'll get 30 seconds opportunity to respond, and we'll just work that way straight on through. It's very, very easy. I'm not going to make the mistake that some debate moderators do and try to introduce the candidates. I'm like, I got the candidates. Why would I introduce them? They're right here. So we'll start on the left. Bob Burns, you have a minute. Please introduce yourself to the folks here at the New Hampshire Journal debate.
Thank you. My name is Bob Burns. I'm a lifetime New Hampshire Republican. I'm the former county treasurer for Hillsborough. I'm also the only pro-Trump, pro-life conservative, unapologetic conservative running for the nomination in CD2. I'm against pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens. I want to build the wall, and I'm an America First candidate.
Thank you. Thank you to the New Hampshire Journal for hosting this and all of you for attending. My name is Mayor George Hansel. There we go. It's working now. I'm Mayor George Hansel. I'm very proud to be the 5th generation of a family-owned local manufacturing company here in New Hampshire. And for over 100 years, we've been employing people and shipping things around the world. I'm also the mayor of Keene, and I was elected and then re-elected with 91% of the vote because I delivered on a promise to the people of Keene. I told everybody in the city that I was going to wake up every single day and fight for them. We were the forgotten corner of the state. This value proposition here in this election is the same as it was in Keene. We're the forgotten district of the country, and we haven't had representation in a long, long time. I've built the coalition that's needed to win this election in November. I've delivered for the citizens of Keene, and I'm going to deliver for the citizens of CD2. Thank you.
I am Lily Tang Williams. I was a Tang chair of WARE as a Republican committee chair for 18 months. I was elected supervisor of checklists in WARE, my first ever elected position in America. I am a communism survivor, and I witnessed Mao's Cultural Revolution. I experienced firsthand the horror of communism. And I came to this country in 1988 to start new life with freedom and with prosperity. That's what I hope for. I'm running today because I see what is going on in this country. I stand up, take my calling, and to speak the truth. I just would like to defend American dream and defend the freedom I came here for. I'm blessed with a loving husband for 32 years and 3 wonderful children. So I look forward to our debate.
Thank you very much. We'll start with you, George, for the first question. And it's an issue that Bob just brought up. A lot of the point of this debate is to help New Hampshire Republican primary voters figure out who to vote for in the primary. There'll be other questions for the general election. We're focused on primary questions here. And one of the top topics among Republicans is Trump. Donald Trump changed the party, et cetera. So 2 questions for you. Did you vote for Donald Trump in 2020? And how do you describe, what's your answer when voters come to you and say, so, where are you on Trump?
Yeah, I get those questions. I did vote. It should be. Thank you for the question. I did vote for Trump in 2020. And Trump brought up 2 very important issues for us. One was border security, which is still an issue today, still needs a concerted effort from the American people to solve. We're not getting anything out of the Biden administration, and Ann Custer right there along with Joe Biden. And the second issue is the trade deficit with China. So we are having our lunch eaten almost every single day, and our economy is really being threatened by our head adversary in China. We need to come together. This isn't about politics. This is about us all coming together and making a concerted effort over whatever time period it takes. Secure the border and compete with China and make sure that they're playing by the rules.
I voted for President Trump. I also organized New Hampshire Aging American for Trump. We raised thousands of dollars to put the big signs up, and they were vandalized. It got me really, really terrified and upset. I rebooted my YouTube channel that the same day, October of 2020, to call out the Nazis who call us Nazis by destroy our Trump signs. So people who attack me think I'm not for Trump. Their research should be a lot better and accurate.
Okay, I'm the only person up here that voted for Trump in 2016. I started working for Trump in 2014 or 15 as Youth Coalition's chairs. Worked heavily with the campaign. I have multiple endorsements from former administration officials. I am the only America First candidate up here, and I'm the only person who's committed to supporting Trump in the future.
Thank you for your responses on that. Our next question. The Supreme Court's recent ruling sent the abortion issues to the states. Hopefully you can hear me now. Do you support federal legislation on abortion, and if so, what would that be?
I support the Supreme Court decision to turn Roe v. Wade back to the state. It should always belong to the state. Let the local people to decide to vote on it. And if we truly support democracy, like a Democrat, Ann Custer, my Congresswoman, support democracy, you should trust the people of your own state to decide on this issue. And I will not support federal government take this over at all. Finally, we got that right. We need to respect our judicial independence. And that's what separates us from China. We have a judicial independence, rule of law, and the respect for people's right to vote and to choose. And if I had a little bit more time, I would like to say we need to make adoption very easy with the counseling education available for women in the crisis, and we need to focus on promote life in this country.
I am the only pro-life candidate up here. I absolutely will vote for a fetal heartbeat bill, and I will put it into our Constitution. Instead of codifying Roe v. Wade, I think we should codify life.
So this is an issue that's firmly with the states, which is where it belongs. This is a contentious issue, and the decisions belong with the, as close to the people as possible. You know, but what I'm hearing from people when I'm on the trail, it's not about this issue. It's all about inflation. It's all about the higher costs that people are paying here in New Hampshire because of Joe Biden and Ann Custer's reckless Washington agenda. And no one has been defending us. Ann Custer sits on the Energy Committee in Washington, and she's done nothing about the pending home heating oil crisis up here in New Hampshire. It's all kitchen table issues. That's what I'm hearing from business owners. That's what I'm hearing from constituents. That's what I'm hearing from people in Salem, Nashua, Keene, and the North Country above the notch. That's what's important in this election. That's what we need to be focusing on, and that is the lack of representation that we've had in Ann Custer and Joe Biden.
And I'm sorry, would you support federal legislation regarding abortion?
No.
And since we're doing follow-ups in just a second before I go to you, I just want to make sure, Bob, I understood your answer. So you're saying you'd support a federal fetal heartbeat bill? All
Correct.
50 states would have, okay.
Absolutely.
Just want to make sure I understand your position. Thanks
Yep.
so much.
And to go further, I mean, I would support voting. I don't know, you know, obviously we've seen legislation in the House where they're trying to codify Roe v. Wade. I don't know how these other two would vote. I would vote against that. You know, from what I've heard from other candidates, it sounds like they're just not going to show up to vote.
George, is that true? You're not going to show up and vote?
Oh, I'll be there to vote.
But if there's a vote to codify, they call it codify Roe v. Wade, but having a federal standard for all 50 states?
No, I mean, I've been fighting for local control my entire political career. That doesn't stop when I become a congressman.
So do you vote for or against it?
We're going to be fighting for local control.
It's a yes or no answer. Do you vote for it or against it?
Thanks, Bob. I'm not interested in any federal legislation having to do with that issue. Thank you.
Lily?
I will not, because I believe it belongs to the state. It took us so many years to give back this to the state. Why should we use the federal government power to codify this again? If we codify anything, it just set up history precedent for whenever a party is in control, then they're going to make a federal government to take back this issue. That's where differentiate us. Who truly believe the state right? Who truly believe democracy, people's right to decide? I will not vote for that.
So this isn't the design of the debate. Are you guys comfortable? Because I have one more follow-up. Is
I'm
that-
very comfortable.
Well, so Bob, there's a tradition among small government conservatives to respect the idea of federalism, that each state should be different, that Utah shouldn't be California and California should not be New Hampshire. You're saying that doesn't fit here. There should be one federal law for all states.
I think life should be guaranteed by the Constitution. I don't think that a single heartbeat should stop. And I believe that that is a constitutional right to live.
And is it just for this issue, or are there other issues that you would extend beyond the state's borders and say the DC needs to get involved?
Well, I mean, you know, we could talk about gun rights. I mean, it's in the Constitution. I mean, when we have certain states saying, I have the ability to create these laws, they just simply don't.
Right.
And I believe that.
Great. Excellent. Thank you for
Yep.
playing along. We want them to be informed. You're up finally, Damien. Thank you for your patience.
All right. I'd like to ask you guys about spending. Would you, if you were in Congress, have voted for the $280 billion CHIPS bill that just passed? Or would you have voted for, would you vote for the $760 billion Manchin-Schumer bill, which is supposed to reduce inflation? If you're not going to support these bills, if you would not have, what would you say to your constituents who would point out that means millions of dollars for your district?
Sure. So I'm going to try to do this very fast. So I've been talking about semiconductors and microchips being made overseas and in Taiwan throughout my entire campaign. It was funny watching Maggie Hassan the other day on WMUR essentially stealing my talking points. But here's the thing, they did it the wrong way. What happened was a bunch of these guys from AMD and Intel got together and they said, hey, listen, it's a huge problem that we're manufacturing all this overseas in Taiwan. If Taiwan were to be taken out, our companies would essentially go to zero. Let's figure out a way where the United States government will pay us to bring that manufacturing back. All we had to do was require military equipment bought in this country be manufactured with American-made chips. Yeah, there would have had to have been a timeline to implement that, but that's all we needed to do, not this slush fund and bailout. And absolutely, to prevent inflation, we need to get rid of these ludicrous green energy boondoggles that we get into. So I'd absolutely vote against both.
Yeah, I'd vote against both. I mean, to have us, on the day that we enter a recession, to have an announcement that they're doing more spending, which is going to increase inflation, is just a slap in the face to people across the country who are struggling. Lots of families here in New Hampshire. And Ann Cusser and Joe Biden, they just don't care. I mean, they're not thinking about you and me. They're not thinking about the businesses here. You want to create an industry, you want to bolster an industry in this country, you create a good pro-business environment. These subsidies are short-term. They're not going to help solve the solution. And we need to come together as a country and say, we're going to incentivize investment, private investment in this country. I know a lot about this as a manufacturer. It's sad that if I wanted to open up another plant like mine, it would make more sense to do it in Sweden than it would in New Hampshire or South Dakota. Why as a country are we turning away from everything that has made us prosperous over the years? We are the best innovators in the world. We are amazing at solving industrial problems. We need to embrace that, and the Biden administration has just turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to our communities here.
I will not vote for either of the bill. I just look at our life debt clock. Go look. Our national debt is a $30 trillion. Every American citizen is bearing $91,000 debt. 91,000. How do we get here? When Tea Party movement started, I was very excited. I remember Boston Tea Party. I remember our My Town Ware Pine Tree Riot. And today, with our fiscal responsibility is a total alien concept. We don't have money. We cannot print money out of thin air. We need to go back to the basics. Our elected politicians have terrible math skills. And they're calling our kids today learning math is racist. Wonder why everybody has math skill today. So we need to go back to basics and to know what does American dream mean. It means that you need to be financially responsible as a country, as a family, and as an individual.
Thank you. George, we'll start with you on this question, foreign policy. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi kind of surprised people, not as much as she had hoped, by making a visit to Taiwan. The Communist Chinese Party has issued direct threats of, quote, consequences. Do you think the U.S. is being needlessly provocative when it comes to China, or do you support actions like this? And would you be willing, as a member of Congress, to vote to spend more money to help Taiwan defend itself?
So we need to support our allies around the world. The Biden administration, it started with a disastrous exit from Afghanistan. That emboldened Vladimir Putin to invade Ukraine. And now, having that action is emboldening China to intimidate Taiwan. We need to support our partners around the world, but importantly, we have to look to our partners in Europe and make sure that they're paying their fair share. This is a great time to do that. Our European partners, many of them, did not inject the amount of stimulus that the United States did during COVID. They're in a much better economic position. So this is the perfect time for us to diplomatically reach out to them and say, we have shared interests around the world, national security, holding dictators accountable, but we need everybody to step up and contribute to that effort.
Well, I was on Manchester radio show a few days ago. I encouraged speaker go to Taiwan. If I was in Congress, I would go with her, and she should take Republicans with her to show our country is united against CCP. CCP does not get to control what our elected leaders do and call and say. We need to absolutely support Taiwan. It does not mean we're going to have boots on the ground, but Taiwan is people's. It's not People's Republic of China, but it's Republic of China. They truly a democratic country with freedom, voting rights, and if we let Taiwan go down like Hong Kong did, and the CCP will become just reckless. They are already making threats everywhere, and we need to call them out, and call them out infiltrating into America. This chip bill does not call out China. That means manufacturers, corporate welfare can use that money to outsource to manufacture in China. So that's another reason I need to point that out.
I think she should absolutely go. I think, whether it was the White House or whoever released this information, said that she was going to be brought in with, military jet. I think that was unnecessary, trying to draw a line in the sand with China that didn't have to be there. I think the execution was wrong. I think she should still go. I think she should get on a commercial jet. And it's been a long time since the Russians have shot down a commercial jet. The Chinese have never done it. I don't think that they would get away with that, but I think that that's the way that it should have been handled. I think it was mishandled the way that it was done, and I guess it came from the White House trying to stop her from going. It seems weird that there's not better communication between the White House and Nancy Pelosi. I obviously think that should be there. When it comes to protecting Taiwan, I don't think that we should be committing any of our own funds. I think that we absolutely do have areas of the world that the Navy is patrolling, and if there's attacks on us or our ships or our bases, that's a direct attack on the United States, and we should respond accordingly if that were to happen. But we sell plenty of weapons to Taiwan, and they've got good money, and they have good manufacturing over there.
Thank you. You're probably aware, but last month, the New Hampshire's Public Utility Commission approved a 6-month, 112% increase in the kilowatt-hour cost of electricity for New Hampshire's largest utility. Now, according to the PUC, this is going to mean an increase for ratepayers on average of about 53.3%. What steps would you recommend be taken on the federal level to alleviate the pain of rising energy costs for the people here at home in New Hampshire?
Well, number one, Biden should immediately open up Keystone Pipeline. He canceled it the first day as he promised in office, and the blame on Russia on energy costs. is just part of the reason. Most importantly, it's a failed Democratic Party's policies on energy and declare war on fossil fuel and encourage people to buy electrical vehicles. Do they understand electrical vehicle battery charges come from 80% is from fossil fuel? So it does not make sense to go to foreign countries, import oil, rely on foreign oil, big Middle East, Venezuela, not friendly countries to the United States, for oil where we could have that in our own country. So this kind of economical policy, energy policies, got to immediately turn around, and Biden needs to stop begging in the world for oil. We have plenty of natural resources in our country. We can do that responsibly here.
Yeah, it's nuclear power, and we need to do everything that we can encourage the new generation of nuclear power plants. It's traveling wave nuclear, which are these micro nuclear power plants. I believe the first one is set to open in 2026. We are building one. It's in Wyoming. There's multiple locations that are after that. After this initial plant opens, but we need to fast track that. The future will be electric and batteries, but the battery technology isn't there yet. It's still a huge polluter. We're wasting a lot of lithium and rare earth metals on batteries that are essentially ending up in landfills. We need to stop funding these green energy boondoggles like wind and solar, which clearly don't work. They're heavily subsidized by the federal governments, the state governments, and what have you, and they're competing with other industries out there. We should be drilling more, and we should have more plants converting oil to gasoline in the United States, which we haven't built one of those in a long time either. So those are the things that we can be doing. Thank you.
Thank you. So we need an all of the above energy policy. The Biden administration on day one shut down the XL pipeline. They pretty much telegraphed the oil and gas industry that the days of oil and gas are over. And guess what? Investors stopped investing in oil and gas. Our production went down. Prices went up for people here in New Hampshire. Frankly, they just don't care. Ann Custer doesn't care. Joe Biden doesn't care that we're all going to be sitting and facing higher heating bills this winter. They're just jamming through this very aggressive agenda on the backs of people that can't afford it. And so eventually, we have to introduce more renewables, make sure it's affordable, and when we transition to renewable energy, make sure that people can afford it and the technology is affordable for everybody.
So just a quick follow-up on that. Would you advocate for using our strategic reserves then, so we are not so dependent on the Middle East?
We have to make sure that our strategic reserves are well stocked, and I think that's something that Congress could probably have something to say about. Because especially when it comes to home heating oil, here in New Hampshire, we're very reliant on home heating oil and sensitive to fluctuating costs in home heating oil. That's not the case everywhere in the country. And when I'm down in Washington, that's going to be one of my primary goals, is making sure that we are looking out for the families in New Hampshire that are heating with home heating oil and make sure that those interests are protected.
Lily or Bob, do you have something to add?
Well, we need to explore all energy options, and the Keystone Pipeline oil coming from Canada is not more friendly country. It's better for the environment, and the nuclear is also actually very clean. We need to explore that, and basically scalable all energy options. We can be truly independent. We were independent under President Trump, but because ideology of the Democrats who believe in climate change and use this declare war on fossil fuel, and the people are paying for price, and their voters are paying for price. High price, people cannot drive. College students cannot go out dating, drive a couple hours anymore. They date online.
Bob?
Yeah, I guess the question was, would we tap our strategic oil reserve? I'll answer that question. No, probably not. I mean, I think that the strategic oil reserve is there in case of, like, we go to war with China. What we need to do is fill up that strategic oil reserve and get that oil flowing, like the Keystone Pipeline that Biden shut down.
So quick follow-up, 10 seconds each. Governor Sununu said last week at an event, boy, Northern Pass looks pretty good right now. Bet we wish we had those electrons from Northern Pass. Starting with you, Bob, and going down the table, 10 seconds. Do you wish we had those electrons from Northern Pass?
Yeah, I mean, I do, but I don't think that that's the answer either, because it's, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of a hydroelectric from Canada. I want, traveling wave nuclear power plants.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an option, but we need all of the above. You have to have some kind of energy to keep costs affordable for families here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to look at all options. And how do we bring down the cost now that, remember some of the strategic oil went to China? I don't know how that happened. It's supposed to reduce our
Right.
people here, the price,
Damien?
Last week, Representative Annie Custer voted to bring back the assault weapons ban. Are there any restrictions on the Second Amendment that any of you support?
No, and I would go farther. I would get a national reciprocity so that we can carry across state lines. Also, what they're doing here when they say ghost guns, that's going to be a huge burden on manufacturers, particularly in New Hampshire. The thing is the way that they're going to try to regulate ghost guns is they're going to try to regulate 3D printers and people who have the ability to manufacture a firearm at their manufacturing facility. And everybody around here who owns a machine shop should be terrified of the federal government and the ATF knocking on their door because they have the material, the machines, and the know-how to build a gun.
No, I'm a gun owner. I believe in the Second Amendment, and we need to uphold the Constitution. It's especially important now that so many institutions in our society are being questioned, a lot of them for good reason. We need to come together as a country around the Constitution and defend it.
Well, as somebody who survived communism, Second Amendment is very dear to my heart. My stand on this issue is absolutely no compromise. When I get elected into Congress, I will work with others to repeal all unconstitutional gun laws. Remember what happened in Tiananmen Square? How many students, peaceful protesters, were crushed? And gun issue is the one who got me involved in politics, 2013. My first testimony ever in my new country is 2013, went to Capitol in Colorado, testify against gun control laws. I'm so glad we are in a constitutional carry state, but we need to do that nationally. And the Constitution and the God-given right is for us to carry guns for self-defense and fight against tyranny.
Okay, now we've got some bonus round questions to let people get to know you, the candidates, as opposed to the issues. We're going to start with you on this first one, George. Just 10 seconds. If I went out to your car's CD player or picked up your phone, you listened to your music, and I hit play right now, what song would I hear?
Probably something embarrassing. My campaign staff, they asked me when we were in the parades, and they said, well, what do you want? You obviously want to listen to 90s music, because that's all they ever hear when they're in my car. So,
So
the
what song?
90s on 9. Well, let's see. I mean, probably something from the 90s, like a grunge song or something like that.
Lily?
God bless America. I love those songs, patriotic songs make my tears, coming out when I think about I could be trapped in China, and now I'm living a great grand estate and love this country, and hopefully I'll get more of that.
Bob?
Kenny Rogers, The Gambler.
Really? Okay.
All right, that's a good song. Lily, what movie do you watch more than any other, and why does it speak to you?
Well, my husband knows when English got better, I love to watch history movies. My favorite ones, I can tell you, Braveheart and Patriot. So all those history movies told me about American history, about freedom. I love them.
And you're a Mel Gibson fan, apparently.
He's kind of handsome.
I would like to say Braveheart is historically completely inaccurate as someone who's of Scottish heritage. I'll go with Patton. That's a great movie, yeah.
Well, I got
Oh, yeah, we need a movie.
But I'd say like Happy Gilmore, Adam Sandler from Manchester. When I watch movies, I like to just kind of zone out and have a fun moment.
You all got it wrong. It's The Godfather. Okay. Damien?
Where's the best ice cream place within this district, and what do you order?
The best ice cream. And when you say this district, not the one that we're in. Geez, I really don't go out to ice cream that much. Yeah, I know. You've stumped me.
Stumper, You want to go ahead, George?
Yeah, sorry.
Walpole Creamery is pretty good in Walpole. And
What do you
somewhere
order?
I frequent quite a bit.
What do you order?
Probably like a Rocky Road or something with chocolate and vanilla combined.
Well, I live in Ware, and I love to go to local farms, and we have a Dutch farm near us. We have our own Essex farm. They have a fresh-made farm ice cream. My favorite is a pecan with maple flavor.
Excellent. We may have a couple more bonus questions for you as we go on, but let's get back to our regularly scheduled questions. And this one starts with George. Who are you supporting in the New Hampshire Republican primary for governor, Chris Sununu or one of his opponents, and why?
Chris Sununu, he's done a great job for the state, and yeah, that's it.
I'm still in the process of researching. I'm so busy with my own campaign, and I have some other opportunities to check each candidate out. So I'm reserving my opinion at this time.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a different race, and I can honestly say I'm not supporting Chris Sununu. And, you know, the reason why is because he endorsed against me. I mean, he's gone out of his way to find multiple candidates to run against me. I don't know what to say about that. Every time I've run for office, him and his family seem to find somebody to run against me. They dump in a lot of money, and then they lose epically, and then they don't become Republicans, and then they don't support me in the primaries. So I've got a whole list of them, if you want that list later.
Tough love, Bob. It's tough love. That's
Hey, I've beat every single one of his candidates, including one already this year. So I've just got a second one to take out.
Just double checking, but that was a no.
Yeah, no. I said that definitely not Kristen. No.
The next question has to do with healthcare, and this is for Lily. Do you think America's healthcare system is broken, and what would you do to fix it? Also, would you support changing the law to allow employers to come together to purchase group health insurance so that they could leverage better rates?
I'm not for socialist medicine, and our healthcare system really needs free market reforms and cut more regulations. I've been saying this for years. I lived under socialist medicine. It's terrible, and we need to have choices. We need to have a competition. And I don't understand why I can buy car insurance cross state lines, but I cannot buy health insurance cross state lines. And I support associations and group insurance, like Senator Rand Paul once actually proposed, and that will bring down the prices, because more competition will enable customers to make more informed choices. And if you have a group you belong to, let's say, you know, like a realtors association or something, why not they go out to purchase group insurance? You know, I think that's a great idea. I would totally support that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that we could do to help lower the cost of healthcare. One of the things, we need truth in cost when you go to get a surgery. You need to be able to look up and say, hey, if I go to this hospital, CMC or St. Joseph's in Nashua on a Thursday, how much does it cost to get a hip replacement? And we need to easily be able to search that. The problem is what a lot of people do is they go and get surgeries, let's say on a Friday or a Friday afternoon or Friday night. That's the most expensive time to go in and get a surgery, and we need the truth and cost out there so that we can make the decision. The other things that we have to come into the understanding is about half of Americans are on socialized health care. Whether it's VA, whether you're a teacher, whether you work for the federal government, some government agency is paying for your health care, and everybody, or you're on Medicaid or Medicare, Medicaid, you need to have a copay. Everybody should have a minimum copay. And the problem is you've got a bunch of Medicaid patients out there that don't care about the cost of the health care that they're providing. They're going to emergency rooms, and they're ended up costing us, the taxpayers, a lot of money, and costing other people who go to that health care facility a lot of money.
And just to follow up, would you support allowing companies to band together so that
Absolutely,
they can...
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the system is broken. It's too expensive, and there's not enough money going towards actual patient care. You need to inject some conservative values into the healthcare system. Competition, transparency. I mean, there are lots of things we have to do to reduce cost. I would support legislation to allow employers to bond together, because I can tell you that is the toughest conversation you have to have as a business owner when, for really no fault of your own, your health insurance premiums for your employees are going up. Anything we can do to reduce those and make sure that we are protecting our hardworking folks here in America and providing the health care that they need is something we should be looking at.
And just a quick follow-up, because Bob mentioned more transparency so that you know what the cost of a procedure would be. Would that be something that
Oh,
would be
absolutely,
helpful?
absolutely. That's part of what we need to inject into the healthcare system, something that's missing now.
Okay, thank you.
In response to a recent lawsuit, the Manchester School District now says that parents have no rights when it comes to their child's choice of sexual and gender identity. Parents have no right to know anything about this, and they have no say in what goes on. Should schools have that kind of authority? And when it comes to these sensitive issues like gender identity, sexual identity, and would you support some form of federal Parents' Bill of Rights to make sure parents do have a say?
So no, the school, is it my turn?
Yes.
It is, yeah. No, the school shouldn't have this type of authority. It's creepy, it's weird. They should be there to educate your children. The wokeism that is infecting our society today is destroying America. And instead of bringing people together, it's tearing people apart. People are now being bullied if they don't subscribe to the wokeism that's being taught in the high schools. Parents absolutely should have these rights. We shouldn't have to create legislation to give them these rights, but if we need to, we will. Obviously, I do believe that education should be more on a state level, but particularly when it comes to doing these gender changes at 5 and 6 years old, those parents need to be arrested for abuse. Nothing more than that.
We need to make sure the parents are in the driver's seat for their kids' education. And Ann Custer and the Biden administration, they don't feel that way. They want to take parents' rights away and centralize control of education in Washington. It's the wrong thing on so many different levels. We should be decentralizing things, pushing rights, pushing control of education into the parents' hands. And anything that goes along with that, I support.
I grew up in China. Parents' rights did not exist. I witnessed my grandparents lose their children to Mao's Cultural Revolution, going to countryside for 10 years and going through 10 years chaos. And I witnessed my parents did not have parental rights when I went to government-controlled schools, and in terms of mandate of vaccines and centralized curriculum, data collection, data tracking, no privacy. I will stand with parents when elected into Congress. I will absolutely come out, defend parental rights, and exercise parental control. Our children do not belong to the state. Our children belong to the government. So absolutely, I will stand with the parents inside the Congress. And there are lots of issues we need to talk about, why school is doing such things like transgenderism. And I have been very, very outspoken against their work. Social justice movement use race and skin color and transgender to destroy America. You can find all my videos and speeches online about that.
Thank you. Quick follow-up, and we'll start with you on this, George. There are objections in some quarters to New Hampshire's EFA program because it allows parents to take the state portion of the money with them, including to private schools, religious schools, et cetera. There are people who say that violates the idea of the line between church and state, if not in practice. Do you support allowing parents to use their money? And if there were federal money involved, would you support allowing parents to take that money and use it to choose a different school other than their local school, including religious schools?
Yeah, I support school choice. Not every learning opportunity is right for every child, and we need to make sure that this is the land of opportunity, and we need to make sure that children have every opportunity to succeed. That means promoting school choice, allowing for school choice, and again, putting parents in the driver's seat for their kids' education. Every parent that I talk to, that's what they want. And then you have the option to raise your kid and have them learn what you want them to learn.
What do you say to people who say that letting that money go to religious schools is
I
problematic?
think we are a country that respects innovation. And unfortunately, the Biden administration, Ann Custer, and Democrats in Washington are just turning away from that tradition. Why would we handicap ourselves that way? We should be embracing innovative learning, different ways for kids to find the right environment for them.
Lily?
It's called the school choice. It's called the educational freedom account in New Hampshire. We trust parents to make that decision for their children. And I think the left will tell you, oh, it's public money. But what have you been doing with our public money, taxpayers' money, to indoctrinate our children? They even don't know what socialism is about. And they want to support free stuff and socialist policies by Democrats. And I'm talking about radical. Not that they say moderate Democrats can support school choice too, because they have seen what happened in the past 2 years. The school got shut down, private school were open. And the people who like us, like minorities who don't have much income, wealth, going to school in person should not be just a privilege of a few wealthy. And some people who are on top, they look down on people and they think, oh, you don't know how to make choices, we'll make choice for you. We don't want to choose a religious school because we know better, it's not good for you. I think I support parental choice, period. And the taxpayers' money should fund students and not the system.
Bob?
All right, so the first objective is to get rid of the Department of Education and federal money coming down. But you know, a good way to do that would be to allow like religious schools getting this federal money, so then you can turn liberals even against stuff like the Department of Education. We need to totally sweep the Department of Education. We need to go after schools and restrict federal money that's going to schools that are teaching racism, that are teaching CRT, that are teaching a false history, about slavery in America that never happened. You know, we need to be going after those schools under the Department of Education when we clean it out, and we need to turn the liberals against the Department of Education and finally get rid of it, and then put the control locally in the state's hands. And whatever California wants to teach, then they can teach, and whatever New Hampshire wants to teach, we're going to teach. But I'm going to tell you what, locally people are going to start to notice that your kids aren't going to get into those top Ivy League schools. Yeah, sure, maybe for gender studies at Harvard, but you're not going to get into Harvard Medical or Harvard Law, where you actually need a real degree and know how to do math and read.
The next question, we start with Lily. President Biden promised when he was running for office that he would not build a single foot of the Trump border wall. This week, they announced that they are going to building several feet, hundreds of feet of the border wall in Arizona. Should he be praised for changing his mind and doing the right thing, or should he be mocked for breaking his promise and not seeing that it was not a smart idea?
Well, I'm always about when our elected officials do something right, we should give them credit when credit is due. I support Biden's decision to finish the wall in Arizona near Yuma, because they have seen the devastating damages and the chaos and the human trafficking in their state. And I hope our media will also talk about this instead of get mad at Biden. And when Trump trying to build a wall, it was racist. But now Biden trying to build a wall, what do they say now? I don't know. I have not, heard the media talk about it. I just read it today. Some are very mad at him. And, wall works. Otherwise, how come we had all the fenced walls, after January 6th for Capitol Hill? I could not even go visit when I visited, D.C. to go inside. And the rich people have walls, have fences, have security guards. So wall works, but the regular American citizens deserve the protection their federal government is supposed to give. Thank you.
Bob?
Okay, so obviously we're going to do both. He should be praised because that's it, but when we're watching the 5 at night, he needs to be mocked because that's our entertainment, and this is politics. This is what we do. Okay? Sometimes mocking people, we do it in a funny way, but sometimes it's a serious issue. Like we're joking about what's happening in D.C. right now that has a crisis because of the illegal immigrants that are being bused there. Now, we can all sit around and joke and say, hey, that's kind of funny, but it's actually really sad, and we need to do something about it. Number one, yeah, Trump was being called a racist in 2016. That's why I'm the only person up here on stage that voted for him, was to build that wall in 2016. My other opponents didn't vote for him in 2016. The other thing, too, is why are the illegals coming here? Because they're going to sanctuary cities, like Georgia's sanctuary city, Keene, and they're being promised a pathway to citizenship, which my other opponent wants a pathway to citizenship for these illegals. You have to stop handing this stuff out. You have to stop telling them that they can come here and be protected, they're going to get a pathway to citizenship, because that's just as big a problem as needing to build the wall.
Okay, so George, you have a minute. We also have 30 seconds to respond,
Well,
and then Lily, you'll have 30 seconds to respond. So go right
first while
ahead.
it's fresh. But Bob, you're lying. Keene is not a sanctuary city. I just talked to my police chief the other week, and I said, what would happen if a federal agency came and asked for your cooperation on an immigration issue? He reassured me we would fully cooperate. because that's his job and he's good at his job. What I've tried to do as a mayor is empower our law enforcement to do their job. That's exactly what the Biden administration and Ancaster are not doing. They're not giving the resources we need to our border agents. They're not securing the border, which if you don't have a secure border, you don't have a country. It's causing incredible problems that are affecting every state in this nation. Drugs are pouring across the border into our communities, and it's taxing our local emergency responders. I know this. I've been dealing with this since I've gotten into office. It's getting untenable. Secure the border, stop the flow of drugs into the country, and give some relief to our local governments and our law enforcement folks that are just trying to do their jobs and do their jobs well.
Lily, you have 30 seconds to respond if you want.
Well, thanks, Bob. And his campaign's been tagging me since the very beginning, and I'm glad I can set his record straight here. He took words out of my content when I got the interview 2016. I was talking about that DACAs and dreamers who came to this country when they're very little and they only know this country. They should have some way to come out of shadows. That's a compassionate human way to deal with immigration. I'm support legal immigration. I want to secure borders, and Bob can take all he wants. Who needs Democrats when you have Republican candidates?
I mean, it's not an attack. You just said again you support a pathway to citizenship for illegal aliens.
You want to send all those
You
kids?
said it the other day on WMUR. Yes. they're
DACA, you
illegal
want to
aliens.
say DACAs?
So now you're saying it's just the DACA guys, but nobody else.
Well, if right now they come in here, they should follow our laws. They will be
So then
deported.
so you're for deporting illegal aliens?
Right now, if they come in, the ICE should enforce.
No, the ones that are already here.
Well, depends. I'm talking about DACA. So the ones already here.
Well,
So
that's-
that's
Just to clear, just because, we're trying to
Yeah,
figure
yeah,
out what
that's
you guys'
fine.
position. No, very quickly, Bob. So you would deport the DACA folks
Yes.
too? Okay, did you have a follow-up?
Well, I was just wondering, because do you support any sort of pathway for immigrants to come into the United States?
You have to go back home and reapply. I'm sorry, that's the way that we have to do it. It's gotten out of control. We can't start just changing this line in the sand all the time. And I'm also, you can listen to what Lily said the other day on WMUR. That's not, she didn't say specifically just DACA. She said you stay here, you pay a fine, and then you get citizenship. Okay?
did
It's
say
multiple,
DACA.
well, you brought that up, but you also included all people you said
Okay.
like DACA, but
And I'm
it's
also
fine.
just curious because we also have incredible unemployment right now. So our unemployment levels are at record lows. Do you have any proposals on how we fill some of these positions that we desperately need for?
Yeah, we put the
business?
people on
Hang
welfare
on,
back to work.
that's a general question, so why don't we let everybody have a turn? And we'll start with George and then roll our way around.
Sure.
Should there be an immigration aspect to dealing with the incredible labor shortage? New Hampshire businesses are begging for workers. We've all seen the signs, work at McDonald's, $1,000 bonus. I worked at McDonald's 2 whole summers, never made $1,000 the entire time. And there are currently 11 million jobs unfilled and 6 million job seekers, ballpark numbers. Feel free to check me. So should immigration be part of that solution?
It has to be part of the solution, but we have to incentivize and support the legal immigration process. Right now, the way things are set up, and because of the Biden administration and Ancaster standing there right with him, the incentive is to go around the system. That's never going to work. That's unfair, and it's not going to solve anybody's problems. We need to secure the border, first and foremost, and make sure that we're incentivizing people to do the right thing. It's imperative. Right now, we're holding back our economy because we don't have enough workers. I've experienced it as a business owner myself. I work my butt off. I was only hiring about 1 person every 3 months, and I needed 10. And it's gotten worse and worse. This has been the hardest 2 years to be in business ever. It's one of the reasons I'm running. I'm not going to stand by while our quality of life here in New Hampshire, while our businesses in New Hampshire are ignored and made to work harder because of these disastrous policy decisions going on in Washington.
I am a legal immigrant myself. I support legal immigration, but our out-of-date legal immigration system needs real reforms. Both parties have used this issue, play politics, and create a border crisis, and then they benefit from their, agendas and get people elected. I would work with others to reform our current legal immigration system and to supply labor force to our growing economy, to also encourage people like me who come here legally and come here, get a job, contribute to the economy, and live in the American dream. What's wrong with that? We need people. And our country is a country of immigrants, and we just want to provide incentive for them to come here legally. My brother waited 13 years online in China to get here, where people now in the southern border, 2 hours at the border, they come in. So like, who is doing this to us to create on purpose chaos? But we need a legal immigration reform.
So, yeah, I mean, particularly, but it's not low-skilled workers that we need. I mean, like I said earlier, we have low-skilled workers who are sitting at home on government assistance. We need to be putting these people back to work. I mean, that's the most ridiculous part. But there's no doubt about it that we probably need more skilled nurses and doctors. Unfortunately, this country isn't producing as many doctors anymore. I'm sure anybody who's been to a hospital lately has noticed that the people who are usually treating you, and the doctors even included into that, many of them are coming from outside this country. So I do believe that we should give preferential treatment to certain countries and to people with certain backgrounds of the type of stuff that we need here. But it's not opening up our southern border for more McDonald's workers. We got those. They're sitting at home playing Xbox right now, ordering the McDonald's through DoorDash, cashing their food checks, food stamps, and then turning them into cash and then spending that money. I mean, that's what we need to be going after.
New Hampshire Journal recently reported that this state is experiencing a spike in murders. We usually average about 18 a year. Right now, a couple of weeks ago, we had our 17th. What can Congress do to combat rising crime rates?
Lily?
The primary for the New Hampshire?
No, the rising crime rates, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing.
Could you say again your question?
The question was, New Hampshire Journal just reported that we're almost at our usual annual total of murders this year, and it's just August 1. We're one short. And we've seen a rise in crime around the country. What can Congress do to address rising crime?
Well, you say the biggest rise of crimes are happening in our blue cities and blue states, and controlled by Democrats for years, and then they use them, then trying to, take away our guns. I think that the rule of law is under attack, and the aging Americans are feeling the pinch. Like I had friends in New York City are very, very worried. Aging women are small, they're targeted, they also have money, they're entrepreneurs. So I think that we need to enforce our laws, and we need also not to have criminals who are violent to released very quickly. You saw somebody just attacked a politician, got released in 24 hours. It's like, are those people inciting violence? Include our elected leaders. We are a country of laws, and the government job is supposed to protect life, liberty, right? And why the people who are violent then let out, but then some peaceful people can be locked up for over a year. I don't get it. So I'm sorry to hear that in New Hampshire. Also, we need a culture of love and respect, teaching critical race theory, get the people fight each other. It's not helpful.
So one thing is, I think that we need national reciprocity. I think that, the only reason that my car doesn't typically, or myself doesn't typically have a gun was because, I might have to go down to Massachusetts or Connecticut. I think that if we had more law-abiding citizens carrying with a national reciprocity where we didn't have to worry about, hey, I'm going to Hollis today, will I accidentally drive into Massachusetts and commit a felony? That's number one. Number two is the drugs that are coming into New Hampshire. That's a huge problem. That's why we need to build the wall. That's why we need to address the fentanyl here. Quite frankly, we've done very little in this state to address the fentanyl, federally and locally. And Custer, of course, was behind a drug bill that made it easier to prescribe dangerous opioids to people, and I'm not really sure why. Ever since we saw the drug Suboxone hit the market, which is supposed to be a drug to help you get off of heroin and fentanyl, we've actually seen a huge increase in the use of drugs. And if you go behind a Manchester City bus here or a Nashua City bus, you'll actually see advertisements like, "Oh, come get Suboxone. It's paid for by Medicaid." So we can thank our state and federal leaders for that.
We need to support our members of law enforcement. I mean, they're just getting stressed, and we're just letting our members of law enforcement across the country down. The crime wave has taken over in many states, including New Hampshire, and it is very much related to drugs. I was talking to a sheriff's deputy in the North Country the other week, and I said, what are you seeing? You know, what are you seeing on the ground? What's the problem? It's all drug overdoses. We need to secure the border. Why in 2022 can we do all these amazing things with technology, but we can't stop but 1 out of every 20 trucks coming across the border with illegal drugs? Come on. We have to do better. And it all trickles down. This is something I learned as a mayor. It all trickles down to the local level, and we end up having to solve the problems that this administration is causing.
Okay, we're going to change gears a little bit. Going over to Bob. So do you think the president is following the right course in supporting Ukraine, even if it does mean higher gas prices for the citizens here at home and in New Hampshire?
Not with the money and unfettered, unregulated amounts of cash that we have no idea where it's going. That's problematic. I'm not against food aid. I don't believe in getting involved in this war. We can sell them weapons. We can sell NATO weapons. I have no issue with that. And then obviously the lobbyists in D.C. that work for the defense companies have no issue with that either. But I do like getting a new stock in there, although there is one big problem. And the missiles that we're sending over, like the Javelins, we actually don't have the material to continue to build them because, of course, there's supply chain issues and the electronics are coming from mostly Taiwan. So that's also an issue for our national defense.
Make no mistake, the higher energy costs that you're seeing, that families in New Hampshire are seeing at the gas pump and with home heating oil are directly the responsibility of the administration and Democrats in Washington, including Ann Custer. She sits on the Energy Committee, responsible for domestic energy policy, yet she's doing nothing to avoid this next crisis. We have to support our partners around the world, but we need to do it in a collaborative way. The United States economy, because of Joe Biden, cannot support and be the police for the whole world. We need this to be a collaborative effort. We need to come together as like-minded nations to protect our global national security.
Well, the prices of gas were going up before Russia invaded Ukraine. So we cannot just blame this problem on the war. And as I said, we need to start immediately to have right policies. By insisting war on fossil fuel is just a total failure for Democrats who want to use climate change agenda to destroy fossil fuel industries. But the thing is we are still heavily relying on them for our economical growth, for jobs, for economy. You know, it's like 80% of electricity we got is from coals, clean coals. So now that they are trying to push ESG, which is similar to China's social credit system, to our states, municipalities, and the companies who need capital investment. So everything is a political size. I think that's a very dangerous path for us to going down that way.
One of the things that hasn't been mentioned tonight, and I find it fascinating given where it was in the polls and in our conversation just a few minutes ago, is COVID. COVID has hardly been mentioned. Obviously, President Biden has had COVID twice, apparently, in the past week, and so that brought it back to the front pages of the newspapers for a while. My question is about the role of the federal government in COVID mitigation and trying to address it. So we had the Biden administration issue mandates for vaccines in areas where they could, including the military and some workforces, and that went to court, et cetera. What do you think is the right role for the federal government in a healthcare crisis like COVID? Some other disease appears, again, monkeypox, whatever it is. And do you support the idea that the federal government should be able to issue the mandates like the ones the Biden administration issued during COVID? We'll start with you, George.
Not in favor of mandates. I don't think that's really proven to do much of anything. Now, when COVID started, there was some federal spending that was really helpful. The initial $1 trillion that provided some relief to businesses, protected jobs, and everything like that. Unfortunately, on the back of that necessary spending bill, there were $2 trillion spending bills on top of that. The door was cracked open, and Democrats in Washington and Ann Custer voted to just spend us into oblivion. We don't even know where that money went. There was no accountability. And now we're paying the price. Families in New Hampshire are paying the price with increased inflation, out of control inflation, higher prices at the gas pump and the grocery store. Average families paying $460 extra a month on gas and groceries than they were last year. Joe Biden and Ann Custer have failed you, and we need to take the country in a new direction. It happens from lowering spending.
Lily?
I'm not for federal mandate. I'm not for vaccine mandate, mask mandate. That's one of the reasons got me to run for Congress. Last 2 years, I have seen the rise of authoritarianism in our country. Citizens' rights supposed to be guaranteed by the Constitution can get all canceled in the name of public crisis. But however, we did not spend our time and effort to investigate China for the origin of COVID, and we still continue to, let the Chinese in this country buying farmland, buying companies near our Air Force bases. I think I'm the best person to go to Washington when it comes to, dealing with China. I get the first-hand information and the news. Without the intelligence brief, I can tell you that. So I think that as a citizen in this country, we have individual rights and liberty. If we don't have that, in the name of crisis, then you will continue to have lots of crises.
Bob?
So yes, I'm against mask mandates. I'm against the mandates, especially coming from the federal government. This was not the health crisis that they turned it into. It was way over politicized, especially when they started pushing vaccines. We've got a president and vice president said they wouldn't take the Trump vaccine. Then all of a sudden they tried to force everybody to get the vaccine, even though it wasn't officially approved by the FDA. It was totally ridiculous the way that everybody went around it. I find it surprising that one of my opponents just said he's against mandates since he voted to extend the mask mandate in Keene, but he voted for it, then he voted against it later. I understand that, George. Just like Keene voted to become a sanctuary city, but it had no real bite to it, I guess. But it was still called a sanctuary city. That's fine. And then Lily brings up now that she's the best one to deal with China. Is that because you're still doing business there with your company, Cafe Dream? Also meaning China Dream, or from China factory outlets, where you said that you have all these great connections in China, and you were going to set up corporations over there?
Bob,
So, hang on, everyone gets 30 seconds to respond, and Lily, we will start with you this time, and then we'll come back to you, George.
I think that Bob just really does not like me, and you are totally wrong. Your opposition research is wrong.
So you didn't just put a Chinese national on your company, Cafe Dream, last month?
There's
no company, Cafe Dream.
Bob, let's let her answer the question.
If Bob did his research right, he would know Cassie Dream LLC is one single member LLC in Colorado. It was named after one rental property we own in Colorado, Aurora, called the Cassie Court Apartment 102. And so this is just
In China Factory Outlets?
This is a shameful insulting.
In China Factory Outlets?
China Factory Outlet. It was started up with me and the 2 other partners in Colorado, and a few months later, it never took off. It failed, and I have been threatened by.
You listed on that all your connections with the Chinese government.
Let her answer the question, please, Bob.
I have been threatened by CCP since I become public speaker, speak out against CCP. 2019, I had to cancel my trip to go back to China, visit my families. I have not been back home since 2015, and Bob got it all wrong. His hatred, dislike me, see me as a
if you were to
threat.
fill out your financial disclosure report, which is legally required, then
Yes.
you would have all this
Yes.
information. So why are you breaking the law?
You know what? I have 1 month, like 1 month before primary. Within a legal filing period. It will be filed soon.
You're 7 months overdue.
Bob is trying to use his campaign doing shaming, slandering, defamation. I think the GOP in New Hampshire should have a meeting words with you.
But slandering is bringing up your companies doing business in China.
Bob, we've got the issue. You've presented it here in the debate. George?
So you're lying again, Bob.
Okay.
As usual. I did not vote for a mask mandate. Actually, I was the deciding vote to get rid of it at my first opportunity. And frankly, Bob, I don't think you understand how local government works. The city council votes on those policies like that. I get a vote as mayor in the occurrence of a tie. And at my first opportunity, I voted to take away the mask mandate in Keene. Look it up.
Okay. So now, how about something fun? Go ahead.
All right. Your favorite New Hampshire politician, living or dead, and why?
I always liked Dave Wheeler, so I ran for the executive counselor in the past, and I would always use him as my prime example as somebody who would buck the trend and not always vote with the other 5 on contracts and look through them a little bit more than other people. So I've used that for a long time because of that reason. And he would actually delve into contracts and ask uncomfortable questions that people don't like to hear.
I think Kelly Ayotte's a good example of someone who represented New Hampshire well. I was very upset when she lost her re-election, but she's somebody that I look to and talk with regularly as we move through the campaigns.
Well, actually, I'm very impressed with somebody sitting here and former Speaker of the House, and Bill O'Brien. I heard he actually led the Republican-controlled State House and cut the taxes, boosted our economy. We have one of the lowest unemployment in the country, and New Hampshire special, an advantage. And of course, I'm still learning about lots of politicians in the New Hampshire history, and I think that I'm so lucky and blessed to live in the most free state here.
So we've got one more question, and then we're going to go to final statements. And we're going to start this one with Lily. I have a magic wand, and I give it to you, and you can pass one piece of federal legislation. You can make one federal law come true. What is the one piece of legislation you would most like to pass?
Right now, I would like to abolish Department of Education at the federal level.
Bob?
We'll go with a constitutional carry, or enforce the Constitution that I can carry a handgun across state lines.
George?
A balanced budget requirement, and possibly something that would take away the salary for members of Congress if they don't pass a budget.
Okay, well, there you go. So we started from the left to right, so we'll end from the left to the right. You each have a minute to wrap up your thoughts for this evening. Bob?
Oh, it's me. So, yes, wrap up my thoughts. Listen, I'm the only actual conservative Republican running in this race. I wasn't a libertarian in 2016 in Colorado. I haven't marched with BLM. I've supported Trump both in 2016 and in 2020. I am an America First. I support Trump's agenda, and I support the things that he did. And I think that if we had him back, we wouldn't be going through far as many of these problems that we're having today, including I don't think the Russians would have invaded the Ukraine. And I don't think that we'd be as scared about China right now invading Taiwan. I'm an America First candidate, and I'd appreciate everybody's vote. And please go to burnsfornh.com to learn a little bit more about me.
George?
I'm from this district. I live here. Bob has said that he's a politician in Manchester. Frankly, I don't know why he's running in CD2. He probably should be here next Thursday.
And where'd you go to high school?
Hey, Bob,
Sorry.
everyone's had their opportunity
Seriously.
to speak, and now it's George's. Go ahead.
I'm a business owner here, and I have a very strong commitment to representing the people of the 2nd District. I did it in Keene. I made a promise to him when I became mayor. I said, I'm going to look out for you every single day. It's very simple, but few politicians actually do it. Here in this district, we need a representative like that. We know what it looks like. We haven't seen it in 10 years. I've built the coalition that's going to win in November. I'm the only candidate on this stage who can win in November. And that is so, so important. Members of the 2nd District have been passed over for far too long, and this Biden-Custer agenda is eroding our quality of life and our business opportunities. I hope you'll vote for me. Go to georgehansel.com. We need your support. We need everyone's support in the district, and that's what we're doing for the next 5 months. Thank you.
I came to this country when I was about almost 24 years old. I started in the hole, $1,200 in debt, $100 borrowed in my pocket, and could not speak English fluently. I'm living American dream today, have 3 home businesses, and live in the greatest state in the U.S., and I want to defend America. I'm pro-liberty, I'm pro-constitution, and I'm pro-America. Without America, the world will be a very dark place. So I want you to trust me. I will always tell you the truth. I'm all about freedom in this country. I came to United States for freedom, and I came to New Hampshire for more freedom. This is something I've been looking for all my life. It's a state like in New Hampshire where maximum freedom is show up in your motto. So I hope you will check me out, lilyforwilliams.com, and I'm on social media everywhere. And thank you for hosting this.
Well, I'd like to ask the audience here to give a round of applause